Source, and that's Jungle Boy. You need to check out All Elite.
We are the Lucha Brothers, and you listen All Elite Podcast.
You know why?
Hey, this is Cole Cabana. Check out the All Elite Podcast. All Elite. All Elite.
This is Sammy Guevara, the best ever. And you, yes you, need to go check out All Elite Podcast.
Myself, the man with the huge effort arms, Brian Cage. You're watching the All Elite Podcast. Who better?
Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of the All Elite Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Big Match. I'm not Big Match AJ, I'm All Elite Andy. And I'm joined by my co-host, my wonderful co-host, Big Match AJ. The reason I'm thrown off, AJ, is because your video is not pulled up on the screen, so give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds.
Nobody saw me look at you with disdain when you stole my title.
I did. I robbed you of your nickname. It's messed up. All right, we got it.
Good,
we're set up. How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Well, you know what? I've been having a rough time, but I got a lot of projects going on, so I'm not thinking about it. So I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm chilling. You know, it's been another busy week, honestly, but it's good to be busy sometimes. It's better than not.
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying myself. Like I've mentioned a couple of times on the podcast, I'm waiting for my little man to show up. So that's exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking. You know what I mean? Got another
Little
kid
Brody
on the way. Yeah, we'll see about that. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited for my son. I did not get screwed over by the stock markets today, like everybody else.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Robinhood.
I didn't check the chat because I didn't want to get spoiled for Dynamite.
Yeah, it was a crazy day for the people of the Robinhood community, but you know, you'll come back. I'm diamond hands, brothers.
All I know is something about GameStop.
To the moon, brother. That's all you got to know. GameStop to the moon and diamond hands. That's all you got to say when talking about it. But no, it's been an interesting day. But last night was an interesting Dynamite. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time watching it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I actually just watched it because I was doing something last night around 8, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and so I mentioned that because I feel like me being fresh off of it is gonna give me a different perspective. So yeah, really had a good time watching it. And we'll get into it, but there were 2 matches on this show that really I was like, this is fucking fun.
Yeah, I think that they did a good job with last night's show. I thought it was, especially the matches, they were really solid. I think that they delivered incredibly in terms of in-ring content last night, and then just story building, building up to the pay-per-view and really getting people excited for that. I think they did a good job of that. And that brings us to our first bit of news that we need to talk about. They've pushed off the pay-per-view a little bit. Pushed it until March 8th, I believe is the date, so I believe they pushed it out 2 weeks. It's going to be on a Sunday for the first time. Oh, it's March 7th. Yeah, March 7th. Going to be on a Sunday for the first time for an AEW pay-per-view, throwing people off the regular schedule due to a boxing match and then some UFC events. I understand the decision-making here.
No, I get it, but that fucking sucks.
It does to an extent, but when I was watching this show, you know, I'm not going to lie, I was like, okay, this is cool. We got a couple more weeks to build up to the pay-per-view. It might have felt a little rushed if it was only because I think, when was it? It was scheduled to be the 20th, the 13th?
Yeah. It was
maybe even the 27th. So it's not. It was. I
think it was the 27th. I think you got it.
It was still a little ways off, but I'm glad that we have another 2 weeks or so to add on to that, and maybe I'll be feeling differently come February. Maybe by the end of February, I'll be like, damn, I wish we could just have the pay-per-view already. But like I said, with last night's show, I think they delivered a quality show, so I'm not mad at us extending the build up to the pay-per-view. I'm sure that in a lot of ways helps them.
Yeah, and you know what else? We got a lot of big shows already, like since the last pay-per-view, and we're having another one next week with Beach Break, so it's not like we're lacking any big matches or anything.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that encouraged them to push Beach Break a little bit harder, because the way it was pushed on this week's show, it was pushed really heavy.
Yeah.
Like a very important event. I'm excited for it. Really excited for it, actually. And I, not that I wouldn't have been, but something about this week's show and the effort they put into really promoting that show, I appreciated that, and it's got me pretty stoked for next week's show, and we'll get to that point in a little bit. But the next bit of news, something I am super excited for. I think we alluded to this on one of our last podcasts. The women's tournament, the first match announced for that is going to be Serena Deeb taking on Rio. Rio is back.
Yo!
That was my exact reaction.
Back. Man, I'm so happy. I wish like they could have like kind of saved it though. I understand announcing Rio. Of course, you want to tell people she's back so they'll watch. But I also would have loved to like been surprised by like Rio coming back. So I'm a little upset that I didn't get the big like pop moment. But I'm still pretty stoked on this, man. Rio's back, and I hope she wins because honestly, Serena Deeb has been pushed pretty damn hard, and she's the NWA champion, and Rio's been gone for a while, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that she loses, which makes this match also actually fucking interesting. It's because most return matches, it's like, oh, of course, the person who's returning is going to win, but in this case, I'm really not sure.
I agree with you 100% on that one, actually. That I think that you're not sure who's going to win on this one because Rio, they could easily do the first round shocker with Serena Deeb. It adds a little bit to Serena Deeb's credibility by beating Rio. Mm-hmm. You can easily create a feud out of that. Like there's so much you can do. I almost wonder if that's the direction they're going to go because they're hyping the match up a couple of weeks in advance, I at least assume. So yeah, that alone makes me think maybe Serena's going to win to get people invested in the match, get them excited, almost make you think, easy win for Rio. And turns out a shocker.
And then you have a tournament powerhouse too.
Yeah, so I'm excited for this women's tournament. That's a great way to get me excited for the tournament. I hope that they might have one or two more surprises. I don't know what Chris Statlander's injury update is, but if she's able to make a return, that would be pretty neat. It would show like the women's division at essentially full strength. I'm always going to say it if Tessa ever pulls up in
I was
AEW.
going to say, I'm not even going to fucking say it. I was like, I'm not even going to fucking bother.
We say it every time, but
like, I'm
right.
sick of saying it. It's like, it's not going to happen because like life sucks, man.
Bullshit. It could. I feel like the fact that she hasn't shown up in WWE at this point makes me feel like there's a bigger chance that she could. Maybe.
I feel like if she's gonna show up, it would be here because you can show up here to make appearances and not sign a contract.
And you could do the whole tournament. Like you could do the whole tournament run. I think I probably definitely mentioned this where she could do the run and lose and still not be a part of the company. You know what I mean? Similar to Will Ospreay and other people in that cruiserweight tournament. So
because like the Mae Young Classic, they brought in people from all over. It's not like they had to sign them.
And I want to clarify, I didn't mean Will Ospreay. I meant Zack Sabre Jr. I can't let a flub like that go. But yeah, overall, I think that this is a very good situation for the women's tournament. I hope that we can see another. Because listen, if you throw Tessa in this, you will now have and the other women in that division because there are strong women in that division at this point. You have a great tournament there with Rio, Tessa, and whoever else. So I also appreciate not seeing a bracket at this point because I feel like AEW brackets almost spoil a whole lot when we see them because we can kind of see the trajectory of which story they're going to pull for us. So very cool stuff going on. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
Then they had their AEW awards this week. I don't want to run through every single one of them, but the ones that are important to me, High Flyer Award goes to Rey Fenix, Breakout Male Star goes to Darby Allin, and then the Breakout Female Star, of course, would go to Hikaru Shida. So that's dope. I don't
remember who I voted for, but I'm fine with all those.
Yeah, exactly. Solid selections for the breakout stars. The High Flyer Award, I definitely went for Phoenix, but I wasn't sure if he would. I wasn't sure if he would be the one to get it because he had some stiff competition in there. I don't exactly remember, like you, who it was, but I know there were good people in there. So, yeah, I think that it's cool, and sweet that they did these awards. The thing I love even more about them is that it wasn't the focal point of the entire episode. I was shocked to see that, and it makes sense because they didn't hype it up and shove it down our throats like, oh, we're doing an awards show next week. I had almost kind of forgotten about it until they mentioned it during the show, but I appreciated the quick mention it during the show, and that's it. Like, there's no need for this to be an all-night cliche gimmick, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like the Slammies? Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, it would have just been long and tired, and it's kind of goofy. These can be cool awards to get if you don't have to go out in front of a crowd or whatever and make a speech about it or some shit like that. That makes it kind of whack. But if you just get the award in this way, it's like, oh, you got a cool award.
Like, also, like, a company can never do like an awards show, like, because if there was a real wrestling award show, it would be like all the companies, and it would be, a bunch of different things, and that you can't talk about.
Even then, the awards, like the Observer Awards and stuff, those are super cool. But it's like, because it doesn't have a company affiliation, that's almost what drags that down. It's like almost in the world of wrestling, I think as long as WWE's around and the mainstay company, it will be hard to have something like that that's official and really involves everything, because of the casual fans thought that WWE is the end-all be-all, and WWE's thought of we're going to not embrace anyone else. So it's a difficult thing to do. But I think AEW did a solid job with it. I think this was a fun, cool way to keep track of their stars. Maybe they did this last year, but I can't be sure.
No, they didn't, because this was like a TNT thing that they did this year.
Okay, yeah. So this works out. This is cool. Good for the superstars featured. Solid picks. So yeah, good stuff there. Last bit of news. Oh, no, 2 bits of news. One of the last bits of news. We got ratings in for this week. 730,000 people tuned into Dynamite, a little bit more than NXT. The only noteworthy thing of that is there was a slight drop from last week, down from 854,000. So if you're a big fan of the numbers, you got them right there. AEW has beaten out NXT I don't know how many times, a majority of the time, so it's definitely...
Most of them.
Yeah, it's not like... It would be tired. Imagine if we did get cocky about it on the show and we were like, yeah, AEW. Like every week, that was our segment. Yeah, we did it. Like it would be like 70 weeks.
That would be the most boring shit after like 10 weeks.
They would be tired of it. And then the bad weeks, we would just be like, well, we'll get them next week. We'll get them. Yeah. We win every other time. And it's true, but it would get tired. So no, this works out. Good for AEW. And I think that this week's show was really good. And not to say last week's wasn't entertaining, because I feel like I really liked last week's. But this one, I felt like gave me more reason to tune in next week. We hinted or talked about the idea that it is a little bit more entertaining. Like we feel like we're building up to the next week's show, as a big event. So that's why I feel like more people will tune in next week. But overall, I could care less about the numbers as long as
to
they
your
stay
point.
Up, so.
Like you said, like you remember liking last week's show too. I can't remember the last time I was disappointed, honestly. Like it's been a really good run lately.
Yeah, there's been segments that I didn't love, but those were easy to consume. So
like overall, like every show has been pretty fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. They've been on a solid run. Storylines have been getting better. The roster, we're becoming more familiarized with them. The characters are getting fleshed out. Like the Archers, the Kingstons, like those guys would be mid-card, not very fleshed out characters in any other company, or in at least WWE. In this company, they have so much to them that we're able to these guys, they're not main event guys, but they could be if they needed to be. So.
Oh yeah.
And they've continued, and this week I think they've built another one of those guys. I think they've finally elevated someone we've been asking them to for weeks. So we'll get to that.
It's been a very long time.
We will get to that when we talk about Dynamite. The last bit of news, there was some issues with the Dynamite stream last night on the TNT app. Tony Khan had to say sorry to everybody if you watch it via TNT, and probably Fight and other stuff too.
It was like Hulu, YouTube TV, whatever, like a bunch of them.
Rough times for the internet.
Which I think somebody pointed out that when the quarter ratings come out, this might show that had an effect on it, because if people weren't able to watch like the first 15 minutes, they might have just not watched the rest of the show.
And that makes a ton of sense. I laugh a little bit because it's like we don't care about the numbers so much that we don't even think to make that excuse, but it's a valid excuse, you know what I mean? Like
I just thought it was worth mentioning.
No, it is. Like I just think it's funny we don't mention it until the next part about talking about like we're not in the ratings. Like, man, well actually the reason it's down, like no, it's down. Who cares? Whatever. But yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Probably why it's down. Either way, issues with the stream. It's not a typical thing, so. That sucks because you missed a good match. You missed a good opening match if that happened. So they threw it up on YouTube so you could watch it there. That was cool. Sweet of Tony Khan to make sure of that, because Archer and Kingston opened up the show. This match was a good match. I didn't have like a negative to take away from it. In watching it though, I was like, man, I thought we were gonna get a little bit more from these guys throughout the rest of the show. When we saw the other matches and like the level of wrestling we got in those matches, I was like, oh, that makes sense. But this was a solid one. There was a point where the Butcher and the Blade came out with Jake Roberts. Eddie Kingston is now utilizing a weapon, like a brass knuckle type weapon that he got from Allie.
Yeah, it was like a brass knuckle, like, and it was hidden, and then backfisted him. I've always, and I'm sure you have too, always have fucking loved Eddie Kingston's backfist, but like it wasn't always a finisher. And I was always like, that should be a fucking finisher. And I'm so glad it is in AEW, because I'm sure it was at some point, but I'm glad he's using it like for that, because it's so sick.
Yeah, and this was good because it was a great win for Eddie Kingston. It was literally a significant victory, which is cool because with Eddie, I didn't
Yeah.
expect this. I didn't necessarily expect him to come out
I
on top.
wanted Lance to win, honestly, because I'm just a mark for him. But
Hate
I
it.
wasn't upset.
That's crazy. We were definitely on opposite sides on that one. But that's what's great about AEW. They've got two big monsters that you can kind of choose either side depending on what you want. But I think they did
And
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and the best part of that is it's not like somebody is getting put over. Like it's never gonna be like some bullshit. Like it's always like some guy is gonna lose. And I'm obviously in this case there was like the brass knuckles. What I'm trying to say is like it always feels like the guy who won is getting put over the other guy.
Yeah, and that was what's good about this one. Like, there was an explanation for Archer to lose, so it wasn't necessarily a clean finish, but it was still a strong victory for Eddie, and it also
Yeah.
establishes this new weapon that he's using, because he did it again, utilized it again after the match, after they beat up Archer some more. So, yeah, this was a good showing for Eddie Kingston. This is a solid feud to build for these guys. I think that Kingston might even be done dealing with Pac, at least for right now, while Pac handles his situation with Kenny Omega.
Yeah,
So
because I was like, "What the fuck, Pac? Lance Archer just helped you last week. What the fuck are you doing?"
he don't need to help anybody. He said they're not on the same page. So
I get it, but like, it seems like a dick move to me. I guess he is kind of a dick.
yeah, no. So that was a good match, a good way to open the show, really solid. We then get a John Moxley promo. He's hyping up the match for next week, talking about how he's going to be teaming with Phoenix and Pac to take on Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. Talks about how teaming with Pac is a little bit different for him. He then goes on to mention how the Bucks and Omega always have some drama, like it's in high school. He talks about how he loves a good six-man tag. It's like gang warfare. Then he says that he doesn't know what's going to happen at Beach Break, but he's looking forward to it. This was a good Mox promo, a good way to explain
Yeah.
the matchup, good way to hype it up. Like, it was good.
Like, what can you say? Like every time Mox does a promo, it's like, it's always good. It's like, and sometimes it's mind-blowingly good. This wasn't one of those because like he was just hyping up the match, but like he always does a great promo.
The thing about this too is it was like this promo alone maybe wouldn't have done much for me for next week, but you pair this promo with Pac's promo later on in the show, and it's the two of them together really, like the simple message from Mox and just a straightforward promo, and then
Very true.
Pac's has a little bit more of a cinematic effect to it, and they both together made me more interested in what they've got going on next week. So I think this was a good way to start that. The following and honestly, with the promo that came after it, it might stand out even a little bit better because this Darby and Sting promo didn't do much for me. It was very
Really,
kind
I loved it.
really okay. So let's tell the listeners what happened. Sting opened up talking about how Team Taz likes to throw out false accusations. Says that they call them hoodlums. Mentions that Darby's a hoodlum. Darby then starts talking. He says it's all about survival and that he's no different than Sting. He then throws his skateboard through a window. Sting says that he's a hoodlum too, and they just start breaking windows with the bat. Says they'll see him at Revolution, and it'll be Showtime. This was, I don't know. What did you like it? So we'll start with you.
I liked it because, like, well, okay, the only thing I thought was silly is like the word hoodlum is silly, but like they were called hoodlums, so they're just saying, yeah, we are. Also, I thought Sting, because like I haven't heard Sting do a real promo in a while, except for like the Back in the Jungle one, and I was like, that sounds fucking weird. But this one didn't sound weird at all to me. This one was just like Darby's a hoodlum, I'm a hoodlum. We're gonna fucking beat some shit up, and then we're gonna like break this shit, and we're gonna beat the shit out of you with this bat and his skateboard. And it's just like, yeah, that makes sense. These guys like are fucking crazy, right? Like that's the idea. So
Yeah, and you're not wrong. And
the dude walks around in a trench coat and face paint, and the other guy has half a face paint because of his dead uncle. They got like these are like fucked up crazy guys. I thought it was good.
You're right. You got me there. And you're dead on. The one thing that takes me out of it the most is hoodlum is just kind of a silly word.
It is a
I
silly
think
word.
maybe even the way Sting said it was kind of silly. Just not very serious. He's like,
But that's Taz's fault. So fuck Taz.
And to that point, like with Taz being the one who brought it up first, like maybe Sting, maybe the idea is like they were tongue in cheek, like the throwing out the hoodlum shit too. So maybe that's why it sounded goofy. It wasn't bad. It was a solid promo. I just think that even a little bit more seriousness with this one, and this could have felt like a crazy intense promo. Instead, it was a little less serious to me. So.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. I have a bias because I really like it when Sting is silly and weird. Like, I get it. People want Sting to be spooky and mysterious and like edgy, but like I love the fact that like Kevin Nash bitched about this, but like the first thing Sting said after being silent as like this crow character for months is "Oh mamacita," and I'm like, no, that's fucking great. This guy's crazy as shit.
Yeah, and again, I think that you're right. But people have like a weird expectation of Sting, and it probably has a lot to do with the Crow character and the mystique of his character. So you expect it to be that mystique thing, and that's why I said I don't dislike it. It was all right. It wasn't bad, and I'm
dressed up as the fucking Joker, and I love that. So.
I'm still all in on this match. Like I'm very stoked for this match. I'm very excited. I think this is going to be crazy.
Hell yeah.
Promo wasn't bad. Promo wasn't bad. And
actually.
maybe coming off of the Mox one, that's what it is. But I don't know.
That's true. But I am worried actually because Sting is gonna do something. I don't know if he's gonna bump.
He's just gonna
like,
hit
he's
people with bats.
right?
You just watched it. What you saw him do tonight or last night is the same thing. He's
But
gonna
like,
do
you think it's gonna be like as bad as like Vince McMahon and Bret Hart? Like he's just walking around like using weapons.
I think he'll get a couple shots in with the bat. He'll get dropped with some type of safe finisher or get hit with a chair or something himself. Be knocked unconscious for the rest of the 80% of the match. Darby's going to get thrown through some stuff, thrown into some barbed wire, cut all up. Sting's going to magically come back at the very end.
I was gonna say,
lock
you just
someone
made
in the
Sting
scorpion.
sound like a bitch.
Nah, he's gonna get the scorpion death drop at the last second, and boom, that's how they went. Darby's gonna climb up 50 feet, and he's gonna do the coffin drop, and that's
Cool.
the match. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that's.
Yeah, I'm
probably
down for that.
Sting's gonna appear out of nowhere the same way the Undertaker appeared behind AJ Styles out of nowhere. That's it. That's how it's gonna happen. So, again, I'm excited for the match, and I hope it is a cinematic match. I think that this could be really fun. So the build to it hasn't been bad, but my expectations are a little off. That's all. The next match, my expectations were off on this one, but I really liked it. We had MJF and Chris Jericho team up to take on the Varsity Blondes. This was a really solid match. The crowd continues to sing along to Judas, and Chris Jericho continues to eat that shit up, and I think that's funny. MJF kicked off the match saying that he's embarrassed. The last time he was in the ring, he embarrassed Griff Garrison, and this week he's going to give him an opportunity just to forfeit before the match started, and Griff dropped him. Griff and Pillman,
and then he beat the shit out of him.
They looked good. They had a great match for these two guys. There's just no negative comments because it's like the match, it wasn't like a barn burner. That's why it's tough. And almost why this Dynamite was perfect, because this was such a good match, and then we got great matches after it. Like, how do we complain? There's nothing to complain about with this match. They helped elevate these two guys. I thought they looked strong in different moments. The finish was fucking sweet with Jericho dropping Pillman with the Judas effect, and then doing the lion salt right after it. And
I love that he did the lion salt, because I defended that shit. I was like, that dude had bodies in his way.
Yeah.
He is not too old to be doing it. He knows how to do that move.
And that's why he did it, and that made it almost feel better. Like a guy literally just sticking it to anybody talking shit. Like, he could definitely still do it. I saw the botch last week, but it wasn't a matter of him not being able to do that move. That was never what I thought. So, and Pillman coming off the top, getting hit with the Judas effect was sweet. Griff Garrison looks great. Like, something about him. And this week, it wasn't even a matter of like, wow, he kind of looks like Jungle Boy. Like, he just kind of was himself to me.
Yeah, he's really coming into his own person. His character.
The Varsity Blondes character is almost like really good for him because he fits that. And I'm not super familiar with what the Varsity Blondes were, so I'm not trying to say that he can be the new rendition of that so great.
Oh no, they were the old team was called the Hollywood Blondes.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. They're trying to redo something like that. So I'm not trying to say he's just like that, but what he does in this role is great. So
I will say they're nothing like that, but I think that's good because like the Hollywood Blondes were heel assholes. Like these guys are cool. Like did you see the Road to for this show?
I did not. I didn't even know there was a Road to for this show.
Yeah, there was, and they did an interview with Brian Pillman and Varsity and Griff Garrison, and also MJF and Jericho, and it was really well done because Brian Pillman was saying that there are so many people in the locker room who knew his father better than he did, and one of those people who he looks up to as a father figure to pick their brain because they knew his father is even Chris Jericho. And he was like, but like that doesn't matter. I'm gonna like go all out. And Chris Jericho was like really like putting them over and burying them at the same time really well. Like he was saying, like he's gonna be great in this business, but he's not ready to beat us, MJF and Chris Jericho, maybe ever.
That type of stuff, like Jericho is the greatest, and he's gonna that's what's gonna be what establishes him as the greatest or one of the greatest, is like his ability to put someone else over while still shitting on them in a way, but not burying them. And maybe it's because I've listened to enough of his podcast. Like he almost primed me to be like someone who praises him for this, because he doesn't bury them. He makes them sound good, and you catch that in the interview. You're like, I don't think that this guy sounds like a piece of garbage. I think that he sounds like someone that guy's gonna beat. Like they do it in such a perfect way. So yeah, the match was good, man, and these guys continue to look good over the last couple weeks. The only trouble that I even imagine for them is how deep that division is. The bright side of that is send them over to Impact and let them run house over there. Like,
you're right.
That shit, I'm all with it. Let those guys go over there and do some cool shit with the guys they got over there. Trade him for Trey Miguel for a little bit, you know what I mean? Did you see that? You seen he was on Impact?
Trey Miguel?
Yeah.
I didn't see Impact, no.
He was on Impact on Tuesday, yeah.
Oh, shit.
He showed up in the main. But we'll keep talking about Dynamite. Don't worry, listeners. We're not going to go on the Impact rant, but I want to let my boy know about Trey Miguel.
Yeah, thank you.
After that match, we get a post-match celebration from the Inner Circle. There's some more arguing between MJF and Sammy. Building up to that situation, there was a little bit more of that later on in the show, so not much we got to say about that.
Yeah.
We got a Pac promo, though, on the Omega match. He was hyping up how Kenny Omega can bring the Good Brothers next week. He's going to show up with Phoenix. They're going to show him what brotherhood is really about. You hurt us and we'll hurt you back. Pac fucking nailed this. And like I said, pairing this with the promo from Moxley earlier, you could tell these guys aren't going into this as a unit against the Good Brothers in Omega, which will probably be what costs them. But you can also tell that all three of these guys are going into this with the same purpose, to destroy them. Yeah, pissed off. So. What do you think of the promo?
Fucking awesome. Like I love it. Like they are just like it's like in D&D or some shit when somebody's raged, like that's the dynamic here. That is their buff, is that they are more pissed off than the other team, and have more to be angry about, and they're gonna, like, despite the fact that they probably hate John Moxley, they're not gonna give a fuck about that.
Yes. So yeah, it was a good setup to next week. This promo right here was like, yep, I'm definitely stoked for that match next week. So they did a good. That's the intention. The next promo did not get me too excited for a match, but we still are going to have it. We have a recap from Shaq calling out Cody during the AEW Awards. This plays into Cody getting interviewed. He's in the ring talking about the Shaq situation. He said that he would love it if he and Brandy could team up to take on Shaq and Jade. And I'm like, dude, she's pregnant. And then he said, dude, she's pregnant. So turns out, she's pregnant. They can't do that match. He says he's going to leave his status for the pay-per-view up to his coach, Arn Anderson, who chewed him out last week for taking Peter too lightly. Arn says that the match with Shaq is once in a lifetime. Shaq's a dominant athlete, and Jade dominates just walking into a room. But he's got someone with some fire and brings out Red Velvet. She cut a decent little promo calling out Jade. This was not bad, but this is probably the one instance where my recap is as good as what was on the television. Like, it was as good as that. The way I recapped it is as good as it was. What do you think, AJ?
Okay, so my cousin was in and out while I was watching the show, and he was here for this segment, and he was like, what the fuck? And I was like, it's a spectacle spot. Like, that's what they're called. It's called spectacle. When you bring in a big celebrity, like Big Show versus Mayweather, or bringing in fucking, a butterbean.
Butterball.
Butterball. But...
Bollocks!
But anyways, it's a spectacle. That's what it is. It's to pop a rating. It's to get people to watch AEW who are not watching AEW right now, and it's perfectly fine. I don't like it. It's not going to be entertaining to me, but really they're not doing it that often. Like, I mean, they're doing a segment every week, but it's not like a huge segment. Doesn't take a lot of time away from the matches. I don't care.
And the guy who is the guy who's most fazed by it is Cody. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who when we see this in other companies, you're like, oh man, they're taking time away from this guy or they're taking time away from that guy. Like Cody's gonna be feuding with someone, generally gonna go over them. So yeah, he's gonna go over Shaq this time, and it's gonna build up Red Velvet in return. And maybe Jade is like a consistent part of the roster going forward. I mean, that's my guess. I think that this whole storyline
I
is
think
to
so.
establish Jade as AEW's next big monster woman. You know what I mean? And that's cool. Because the thing is about that.
Is it cool?
No, it can
I
be.
don't know if she's good.
No, well, that's why it'll be cool if they're waiting to really pull the trigger on it these many months, because we've seen this girl since like at least a month or two. They're waiting to train her up. But my point is, it's cool if she can come in and just destroy and be a badass who everyone hates and you want to see lose, but she's just dominant. When you think about like in professional sports or like the UFC, some of the best women are just dominant, strong women who people typically root for, so they become like negative persona heels. That I feel like the same situation with Jade could be really good for the women's division. I think that they missed that opportunity with Nyla because she's been beaten so many times. With Jade, she could become like this dominating powerhouse who everyone hates because she doesn't do a whole lot in her matches, but doesn't have to because she's so big and can win easily. I have hopes for Jade. I don't know what they're doing, but I feel like the amount of effort they're putting into Jade, like this is really the effort that WWE kind of puts into their monsters, like their big shows, their Canes, and that's what I feel like they're trying to do with Jade in the women's division. And in like the night, like I don't mean that in a negative way at all. Like she's a beautiful woman, but she's so big, so much bigger than the rest of the women's roster.
First of all, she does. There's enough beautiful women in wrestling. I want scary women who look like they could beat the shit out of somebody.
Well,
that's
she
who
fits
I want.
Like all
for.
three of those molds to me. So
there's like I want Bull Nakano shit. I want people who look like they just came out of a bar and they're gonna like get on a bike and fuck somebody up.
and so I do wonder like what the plan is, because obviously she's not gonna be on a singles run anytime soon.
No,
because this is going into the pay-per-view. I imagine the women's tournament will start before then, so she won't be a part of that. And so I do think that they're really just taking their time with her, training her up before, after shows, every week, whatever, putting her through like a regular camp, but training her how to wrestle. And I think that we will see the benefits of that over the next couple of months. And it's going to take time for her promo work and stuff to get better, but I think like the more...
That's my biggest issue right now.
She'll come into confidence with that. Like, I feel like the better she gets and the more comfortable she gets in just this persona, it'll be all right. So
yeah, she just needs to practice at it. That's all.
Absolutely. But it's definitely not the match that I'm most excited for. But I'm interested. And shout out to Red Velvet. She's going to get an opportunity. So we'll see how that goes. We get a little recap for Kip and Penelope's wedding next week. We got Miro bullying Charles the Butler. So good recap video, yeah?
Yeah, I mean it's good to hype up the wedding if it's happening next week, and it is. And I wasn't expecting it to happen that soon, so it's good that they reminded me again.
That soon, it's been forever. They just fortunately don't talk about it all the time.
What I mean to say is Chuck Taylor was like, I'll be your butler until the wedding. So I assumed it was going to be like the pay-per-view or something, but.
That's true. That's
cool.
True. And the funny thing is, like, we knew it was going to be at the spring or the beach break thing. It's just like we didn't realize it was this soon. So I think that it's I like it. I like that it's coming up finally. I think that it's been a while that they've been hyping it up, but it hasn't also been shoved down our throat. And I think that they did it the perfect way, which seems so weird to do with something that I thought there's no way you can do this in a great way. My only hope is like they can pull some really cool storyline out of it. I'm not sure what they can do, but
George Janelle's gonna come out.
I hope not. I mean, I hope so, but I both hope so and hope not at the same time. Like, if they can do it right this time, because the storyline just didn't work the last time, then yeah, do it. But if you can't do it right still, then just don't do it. But something has to happen. Weddings never go over perfect in professional wrestling, and this one is an interesting one. That's all I could say about it, because the Miro situation with Chuck, we'll obviously get some Orange Cassidy involvement, but yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Next match, pretty simple, pretty relative to the point. We have Hangman Page picking up a win over Ryan Namath. He looked a lot like his brother Nick. We had Matt Hardy come out during this match to scout Hangman Page. This was an interesting part. Hangman picked up the victory very easily. After the match, he gets interviewed by Tony Schiavone. He asks both men what the hell is going on. Matt Hardy responds, says that he's seen Hangman backstage all by himself. He's been down and out, wanted to help him. He offered to let him use his dressing room, says that he wants to help. And then Matt just kind of leaves. Tony Schiavone, for some reason, offers his opinion that no one asked for and is like, yeah, you should do it. And I'm like,
He's allowed to have an opinion.
but what a bad opinion. Like, you watch the same show we do, Tony. Why are you saying this is a good idea?
I agree it's a bad opinion.
Like,
but
like, he's not even a heel character, and he's like, you should team with this guy. Like, you know the shitty contracts he offers people. Why aren't you telling him no?
he doesn't have to accept the contract due to the dressing room shit. He's doing it in the hallway. Fuck to it, yeah. I agree.
I think that we'll see Hangman next week coming out of that locker room. I think John Silver will be out there doing something, walking around in the hallway. He'll see Hangman walk out, and he's going to be crushed.
How did you like Ryan Nemeth?
Meh. I didn't dislike him.
So here's the thing. I did because I saw the Road to, and he cut a promo, and I swear he was talking in the most like monotone. I don't believe you. I don't care. I get it. You're not your brother. Cool. It was bad. It was like the most flat, like dry
and maybe
thing.
for him that's the thing is like he is a lot like his brother, so the only way to not be like him is to just be nothing at this point.
Just be boring as shit.
I don't know what's going on here. Like, it's cool that they gave him an opportunity, but I feel like he hasn't wrestled in a couple of years. At least that's what I think I saw on social media. If he's still on the indie circuit, then like I'm glad they gave him an opportunity. But it's a confusing thing because like there's a part of me that's like, oh, Dolph is coming, so they're just gonna use Ryan for a while, and then it's gonna make sense that Dolph comes in or something. Like, that's the only, like, we're used to the name Namath or something, because if he hasn't been wrestling for a while and they just brought him in, I don't know. I guess maybe
is that a
they
rumor
like
or
him.
something that Dolph is coming?
That's a personal rumor. Like, I have nothing to base that off of. Like,
Okay.
like
I know. I wasn't sure.
And I feel like he just signed like a lengthy contract within the last couple of years, but he's always signing contracts, I feel like. So I don't know. And again, I'm not anticipating him to come. It's so weird. It's very confusing. I'm glad he got an opportunity. Maybe he just knows Cody. Maybe he was in the area. Maybe he's bringing a comeback.
Well, he was an OVW guy. You mentioned that in the promo, so he definitely probably did know Cody.
Yeah, so, I mean, cool. He gets an opportunity, loses to Hangman. I didn't think he looked bad, but if he can't cut a promo, then that's definitely a problem. But no, this was fine, and the story that comes out of it, I love even more. Like, somehow Hangman's stories have been the best for a while now.
Yeah.
Ever since we had to do Where in the World is Hangman Page, he's been killing it with his stories, and this is a great one. They had the Dark Order almost immediately responding to Matt Hardy, like, what the fuck is your problem? And Matt responded to that with a picture of him and Hangman from 2013, and he's like, I booked this guy on Omega. I just really like him. And I'm like, yo, this is good. This is good shit. So it's a good story. Like I said, I anticipate Hangman coming out of Matt's locker room next week. Really,
I didn't know that happened.
really hurting the heart of the Dark Order, and we go from there. So I like it. Something I really liked was this next match. We had Jungle Boy pick up a nice single victory over Dax Wilder. What did you think of this one?
Bro, so my cousin was watching this one too, and I was like, I want Jungle Boy to win. I was like, I want Jungle Boy to win because he never fucking wins. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I've never seen Jungle Boy win once. And so we're watching this and we're losing our shit like over the roll-ups and shit. So I fucking loved this match. It was so much fun. They both did great. I think there was like one flub where like he was supposed to get German suplex to land on his feet and he landed on his ass. But whatever, who cares? That's the only thing I could possibly nitpick. So no, it wasn't perfectly perfect, but goddamn if it wasn't fun, exciting, and great.
It was a great match, and yeah, Dax Harwood put on a great show. Jungle Boy put on a great show. The story with Luchasaurus and everything made perfect sense, and I like.
Oh, and to be clear, I'm happy because Jungle Boy won.
Yeah, and we talked about significant victories. This was the significant victory for Jungle Boy. We definitely talked about that last week. So this is a great match for Jungle Boy to have picked up a victory and builds on a good storyline for these guys. I hope this match turns into a pay-per-view match because this is a good one to build up and blow off at the pay-per-view. Jungle Boy was amazing. There's so many different ways they could go with this too. So this was a great showing for him. It was cool that you could tell the crowd, social media, everybody saw that in this match. And JR gave him a good compliment at the end, talking about how this was one of his best matches, or his best match so far. So, yeah, they did a great job. And that's what's cool about this show is, like, we were able to talk about how Griff looked great in his own role, and Jungle Boy looked great in his own role, and we were kind of worried about both guys because of the similar look and similar appeals. I think both guys are going to be just fine.
Also, I understand the fans singing Jungle Boy's song are not fans, they're wrestlers. But if you are going to imply that that wouldn't have happened, you're an idiot. So it's perfectly fine with me that that happened. It is a little weird, but they're gonna do it when fans are back. And also the post match stuff was fucking also crazy because something terrible almost happened.
Yeah, in the post-match, we had Tully Blanchard throw some powder into the eyes of Luchasaurus. They then jump in the ring, beat down Jungle Boy a little bit more. Luchasaurus gets in the ring, gets beat down, gets spike pile drivered by everyone. Tully almost fell on his face.
Yo,
It was crazy. He's all right. He's good. He's just
yeah, he's fine. Just wow, Jolie, you really went all out for it.
He damn right he did. They get Luchasaurus, handcuff him to the ropes, and cut off his horn.
I did.
And he's
I
however
thought me
billion
and my
years
cousin
old.
both thought they were gonna cut off the mask, and we were like, "Whoa, that's fucked up." But then they just cut off horns, and we were like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
He can get another
yeah, that's
mask.
fine. What if he doesn't though? Like, what if they play into it? He's like, I'm 36 billion years old. I can't grow that for another billion years. He's gonna be big mad. So, nah, great setup here. Solid feud. This is gonna be a good one. Like, there's
Bro,
nothing to complain about.
When they took the scissors to Jungle Boy's hair, I was like, "You will fucking kill his career. You can't do that."
I think they're on that path. Honest to God, and not that I'm saying they're gonna kill his career. I think they're planning on cutting his hair. Like that's the tease, and it's going to eventually happen. We'll see.
God, if they do a hair like versus whatever, man, I don't know what they could do.
They don't have anything to offer. They got nothing.
Cash has hair, but Dax does not. You would have to shave his beard.
It's gonna be like Chuck Taylor when he just accepted the match with getting nothing in return. They're gonna be like, yeah, if you go away, I'll put my hair on the line. Like, fuck that. But I think that's where we're going. That's why they're teasing it. But we'll see.
If he loses his hair, I'm gonna be so sad.
I think it would be even smarter, honestly, to put it on the line, have him keep his hair, and then down the line do it. You know what I mean? Build that type of story up for him because I think he's a perfect character for something like that.
That's true.
Oh, and I should mention that Marco, SCU, and Top Flight were the guys to come and make the save, run those guys off before they could continue their damage. So yeah, good stuff. We get a Taz promo with Team Taz. He doesn't really say much before Huck notices that there's a Darby and Sting merch stand behind him. And so
This one was stupid. The other one I liked.
that's fucked up. I like this one. I thought this was great. They went and beat up some guys for doing their jobs, threw them into some guardrails. There's no reason for this merch stand to be where it is, but I loved it.
Fuck this. No, first of all, they were cutting a promo. They had shit to say, and they just noticed a t-shirt vendor in the fucking, like, near a truck, and they were like, Sting shirts? Fuck you! As if they were, like, in control of that. And then beat the shit out of these random I barely watched it. Like, the moment Ricky Starks, like, pushed the guy, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just type what's going on in the notes.
Nah, dude, this was good stuff. I liked it. I liked that they were beating him up for no reason. I like that Huck was the one to do the talking for them at first and start the fighting.
I did like
they were obviously just guys trying to do their job, but that's what made it even funnier to me. And it being in such a fucking stupid spot. I was like, this is dumb, but I love it. Like, this is great. And everybody looked great beating the shit out of everybody, so I loved it. But I could see your issue with it. After that, we got a Britt Baker match.
This just shows that you're a Team Taz guy, and I'm Team Sting and Darby.
You're right, and I am a Team Taz guy because of like something about all of the characters is interesting, but like his son being a part of the team, and like the characters we're introduced to in AEW who don't wrestle at first. You know what I mean? They're just there as characters, and I anticipate them to wrestle. I like that. I like that I'm getting to know this kid and see that he's just a little fucking shit. Before he even starts wrestling, so that way when he starts
kind of like
wrestling,
Colby Carino, if you remember that in ROH.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think they do a good job of that with AEW. So, just introducing characters who are gonna wrestle eventually, but just not right now. We get Britt Baker wrestling right now, picking up a win over Shanna, making her AEW return. I haven't seen her in a while, so nice to see her. Solid match. Nothing too crazy, but nothing bad at all either. I think that Britt continues.
think?
What do you mean?
Britt was great. I thought Shanna was like, oh, okay.
That's kind of what I anticipate with Shanna. So that's why I don't really have anything negative to say. And I don't think she's bad. I just think that there's definitely women on the roster who just have to work out some of the kinks. I think that, and like I said, we haven't seen her in a while, so maybe there's a little ring rust there. And like maybe it's because of Britt, honestly, where I'm willing to give the women's division just time to figure it out, because the time we gave Britt, like, it wasn't even like she was bad. It was just there was so much clunkiness to her character and trying to get used to doing it maybe on TV or whatever. But Britt early on
and she
just
came
didn't
into
work.
her role so well as a heel, and then they really needed a new heel too.
And they've like been able to continue to build on this character even through the pandemic. Like now she does the lockjaw and puts on a glove and like just the silly stuff that adds to it, but also you're like, what a dick. Like not only are you gonna shove your hand in her mouth, you don't even want her germs. Like that's what a douchebag. And so it was a great thing. Solid little match. I'm not gonna say it was the greatest match, but it was solid. The women's matches are always solid. We get Britt locking in the lockjaw post match, and Thunder Rosa makes a save.
That was awesome. I love Thunder Rosa, man. I really hope. I think she's signed with NWA right now, but I have a feeling when that deal is up, I don't think she's going to NXT. I feel like she's going to stick around with AEW, because at this point she's built up a reputation in AEW. So I feel like it makes sense for her, and she's sure. I'm sure she knows that as this pandemic comes to a close and more people are vaccinated by the end of this year probably, and more people from Japan are going to be coming, that the competition is going to be a lot more fun.
And you can almost feel it in the air with the women's division, with Rio being the one coming back, and it's literally like, and again, we talk about this a lot, so it probably is annoying, but I'm not saying it needs to happen. But if they sign Tessa, you have Rio, you have Britt, you have Rosa, like you have you have Hikaru, like, and shit, I didn't even name the women's champion. How ridiculous! Like you have a good women's division at that point. So I think that Rio coming back is a great piece of that. Being able to keep Thunder Rosa as long as you
Serena
can.
Deeb.
Yeah, Serena too. So they have a really good division that I'm excited to see how it plays out this year, especially if they can keep the talent available throughout the year. So we'll have to wait and see. But Rosa is one. I wouldn't be shocked to see her go to the WWE because her stock is so high, in my opinion.
True.
That
they might give her a lot of money.
And they should, because the push she has gotten.
She deserves
it. She would have to be thankful to AEW and NWA for giving her these opportunities, but like she's ultimately deserving of it because she's put in the work through it. So yeah, I think that her stock has risen so much. She's gonna get a great deal after this, and it's very interesting the way that it's played out with her, because people thought at one point she was signed to WWE. She turns out she was still signed to NWA.
I forgot about that.
So. We don't know what's going to happen with her, but as long as she's in AEW, I love it. Like, and the fact that she's been here as long as she has almost feels like just like extra dessert type of thing. Like, I did not expect her to be long. I thought it was going to be a couple-month relationship, kind of like what we are still thinking the Impact relationship is going to be. We don't even know for sure. But, yeah, I think that I'm just excited that she's still involved. And every time I see her on AEW TV, I'm like, yes. She hasn't gone to the big guys yet, because I feel like I've been watching Thunder Rosa for a while, like even on the independent scene, not a whole lot of her matches, but just her character, because just watching like another Latina through the wrestling ranks and her embracement of that culture and stuff, for me that sticks out. So I've been watching her for a while, and I'm glad to see that she's really getting a good opportunity from it. So
I loved her since I saw her in NWA. That's where I first saw her, and goddamn, she's like I don't know how long she's been wrestling. I don't care. All I know is she's fucking good.
It was just so many. That's why I can just remember seeing her early on and being like, "Who is this?" Because she just checks so many boxes of like, I love wrestlers who have face paint. I love Latino wrestlers, Latina wrestlers, like that type of stuff. I was like, shit, this is awesome. So, and her character, her style is so cool that I'm just all in. So I think that they have a lot of potential with her, and as long as she's part of the roster, the women's division is better off for it. So, hinted to this earlier, MJF talked to Sammy about their little situation. He said that he never told Wardlow to attack him. They'll never get involved in Sammy's matches again. Sammy calls MJF a great manipulator, but Sammy sees right through him. MJF asks if he really wants to play this way, and Sammy says he's not playing. So these guys obviously getting more tense. Jericho obviously needs to figure it out with these guys because he told them, if we're a team, there's no bullshit. And here we are, 2 weeks later, bullshit. This is ridiculous. But I love it. I don't want to sound like I'm actually hating.
Oh no, it's great. It's just the inner circle is not okay. Well, the inner circle is okay. Sammy and MJF in the inner circle are not okay. Specifically, everybody else seems to be fine with MJF, and everybody's fine with Sammy. Obviously, I don't know where this is headed. I feel like maybe there's gonna be. I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe Sammy's just gonna leave. Maybe there's gonna be a match for somebody to get kicked out. Maybe they're just gonna I don't know. There's so many options and avenues here. It makes it really interesting.
I think they're gonna turn on Sammy. I
think that's possible.
I think that MJF manipulates it enough to where everyone's like, Sammy, what is your problem with him? Like, why are you still causing issues with him? And finally, MJF convinces him to turn on him. And who knows? That's what's great about AEW stories and stuff, is they could flip it almost the exact opposite direction, where the inner circle is smart enough to recognize, like, you're an idiot. We watch the show. We know what's going on because Jericho's already done that to him once. Where, like, they end up turning on MJF. There's a lot of different stuff that could happen here.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that stands out about Dynamite and AEW, honestly, is the different parallels that could go on with the storyline and makes you more interested in what's going on. So, yeah, this was a simple segment, but it has so much to it because of all the other small, simple segments they've done with these guys. It's crazy because I feel we see MJF and Sammy, honestly, all the time on Dynamite, but they're never presented. Like, I feel it's not like I'm oversaturated on their content, but there's almost always like 2 inner circle segments per show. And it's crazy that I don't feel like, oh man, why are they always on TV? So
and I think like that's definitely because what you said, it's always simple and it's like laying small pieces of groundwork building to something bigger.
And I'm super excited for Sammy to really get maybe a singles opportunity. That's what I'm expecting off of this.
I hope
he's getting
so,
a more prominent role in general, and that's not to say that he was ever held back in the inner circle. I think his time in the inner circle was the smartest stuff they could have done.
Yes.
Like, for his first year, I couldn't have seen them do a better first year for him. And there's so many guys on the roster you could say that for. The Darbys, the Sammys, like even Hangman. We didn't love how he was booked at first, and now look at it. Like, the whole year, you look at the scope, you're like, fuck yeah. Even Kenny. Like, there's so many guys in AEW where I'd say their year has been great, but I'm excited that Sammy looks like he's about to go to level 2.
Sammy will break out if he goes singles. Like, he will be a big star, in my opinion.
Because he's great in front of a camera. He's good on the mic. He does insane moves. Yeah, I think, and I almost feel like that's why his move set is turning to a more high flying type style. We saw him do that crazy swanton a couple weeks ago. So
yeah.
I'm excited where Sammy's going, and I think that these segments are good. Every Jericho and MJF segment, because we've been talking about them for months, and we talked about it way back then, is like, everything means something, but what does it mean? And the more we're getting to recognize that, the cooler it is. So.
And fuck T-Bar.
Yeah, fuck T-Bar. The next segment, we're backstage, and Carl Anderson says that it's a Bullet Club party, brother. Gallows says that they're going to beat up Phoenix, Pac, and their favorite thing to do, beat up Jon Moxley. The Young Bucks say that they hope Don Callis doesn't get involved. Kenny Omega enters. He says that they need to talk. But Don Callis interrupts. Everybody starts arguing with each other. Good segment, though. Great for the Bullet.
Yeah.
Great. Love the Bullet Club reference, everything. Like,
Blizz, brother.
Blizz.
I love it. I loved the dissension. I love how clearly the Young Bucks are very pissed and passive aggressive, and well, everybody's passive aggressive. Actually, this is like a really shitty clique. Like, and when I don't mean clique as in the clique, I mean like a shitty clique where it's like everybody's an asshole and it's like a Mean Girl shit.
Right, and that's it works out. And I think my favorite part, honestly, was the beat up Jon Moxley thing. Obviously, the playoff of the beat up John Cena shit that they did in WWE. It's like these guys are so good at having gimmicks and stuff that can translate from company to company to company that all you got to do is watch them and nothing really changes about them. They just get a little bit more vulgar outside of the Fed.
Yeah, and it's a lot better too because of that.
Yeah. So this leads us into the main event where the Young Bucks team with the Good Brothers for a victory over the Dark Order. Stu Grayson looked great in this one. He ended up taking the fall off of the Meltzer driver. Solid match. John Silver continues to look amazing. There was a great sequence to open the match where him and who was it? Luke Gallows were just joking around with each other, but it was a funny little segment. The match itself was great. Yeah, you liked this one too, right?
I fucking love this one because number one, like ever since the Dark Order happened, I was like, I'm gonna see where this goes because I fucking love Stu Grayson because he's a tiny little hoss, and now there's two of them. There's two of them, Andrew, and they're both bald and have beards. And they both cleared the fucking ring. Like, Stu Grayson went fucking ham. He took out everybody. And then, like, they go to commercial. They come back from commercial. Then John Silver goes fucking ham. Takes out everybody. And I'm like, this is fucking great. I love this so much. Yeah. God damn. I love those guys. So, yeah, that put me over on it. Then added shit. The Good Brothers and the Young Bucks are fucking awesome. And this match, and everybody in this match is pretty great. So I love this one. It's really hard for me to decide which is my favorite match from the show tonight.
Yeah, and dude, it's so awesome that Dynamite is in that position. And granted, every week there are good matches, really good matches, but there are some weeks where it is fucking nuts. So and this was one of them where there were just two great matches that you can't not talk about how good they were. So they did a great job. It was almost surprising. Like, I didn't expect the Good Brothers and the Bucks to lose, but I was almost surprised to see the Dark Order lose here, just because this is like full strength Dark Order to me. So, but it makes sense. You send in your best guys to take on their best guys, and they just come up a little short. The match was good. Post match, we get Matt Jackson saying that if they win next week's Battle Royal, then they get to choose their opponents, alluding to a match with the Good Brothers. The sweet thing about that Battle Royal is I do not have a fucking clue who's gonna win it. There are so many great teams involved. Your obvious speculation would be that the Bucks win. We get them versus the Good Brothers. But we have the Acclaimed in there. We have I was leaning towards the Dark Order prior to this 4-way, but the Dark Order's still involved. We got a couple other really good teams involved in that. So you never know. MJF and Jericho.
I raise you another hypothesis. Private Party beat the Good Brothers for the titles, and Young Bucks go full heel, win the Battle Royal, and challenge Private Party and win the Impact titles and
is the Impact show this weekend?
I don't know. Is it? No, I don't think
that
so.
would be the main catalyst and all that. But
is it? It might be though.
But they could still do. They could still run like a triple threat though, where you have them challenge the Good Brothers, and then the Private Party come out and they're like, "Well, we just beat them, and you want to face them, and we have."
It might be next week. I'm not sure now, but whatever. Regardless, you're right, and I do think it's going to be the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers probably, but I just wanted to spitball.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a couple of good teams that have been involved with the Bucks. The Acclaimed haven't been seen much, so I wouldn't be shocked to see them lose it either, but it wouldn't be surprising. They would be a pretty solid choice, in my opinion, for that position.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't want the Good Brothers to face the Bucks for whatever reason at this point. And that wouldn't be shocking to me either. Like, they took a long time to do the Bucks versus FTR. So I think that it might be the same situation here. They might want to put it off one more show. They could easily do the Good Brothers versus Private Party on this show. Yeah,
and also there's like if you do want to do something big at the pay-per-view, there's a long wait at the pay-per-view now. So it's especially likely that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah. Good point. But nonetheless, in the post-match, we have, like I said, they alluded to that match. The Good Brothers seemed interested, but before they could even really too sweet on it, Phoenix hits the ring, jumps off the top ropes, takes out everybody. Moxley hits the ring, takes out everybody. Before he can get too excited, Kenny Omega comes out, and Moxley has eyes in the back of his head because he turned right around, saw it coming, dropped Omega with a paradigm shift.
Spiked him.
And it was a great way to close it, a great way to show that Mox and Omega are not done feuding at all. Mox is still very much within that title picture, but there's a lot of guys in that title picture, and I don't even know who's going to challenge for the title at the pay-per-view, to be honest with you.
Dude,
because there's Pac. Pac could easily be involved, and I feel like it's going to come down to a Pac or Mox situation, and maybe you run the triple threat for that one. I would love that, but
Not only that, also Kenny might win the Impact title from Rich Swann, who now has pinned at a pay-per-view. Like there's a lot going on with Kenny Omega, but you're right, John Moxley is still in contention as well.
Is he
There's
facing?
like
Is that match set? Him versus
that's
Swan?
not set, but
But
it should be assumed that that's a possibility because he did pin him.
he's the belt collector, brother. So I wouldn't be surprised. No, I think that they're in a good position right now. They continue to be in a good position, but the stories continue building really well. The pay-per-view is shaping up really well. There's no issue of pushing it back, at least for me, because I think that just gives them more time to build it up. So yeah, I'm excited. I think they did a solid job with this Dynamite.
No, definitely really good. I enjoyed it top to bottom. Really, every match on this card, I wasn't like, except for like, even no, actually, even the Britt Baker and Shayna, I was like, because it's fine because like even though Shayna was lacking a little, Britt Baker I feel like carried any slack that there was, and every match was pretty good.
Absolutely.
Two very good actually.
I
Some of them.
agree. I agree, brother. But that wraps up our Dynamite discussion. We talked about the news. We talked about everything we needed to talk about. We will be back next Tuesday to talk about Dynamite. We had a little bit going on this week, so we were unable to cover the pre-show.
Sorry about that.
But it happens. We'll be back next Tuesday. Everybody gets a little busy on Tuesdays, and we'll be back to discuss the pay-per-view, or not the pay-per-view, but the Beach Break show. I'm very excited for it, so we have to discuss the match card for that and any news that comes out between now and then. AJ, let them know where they can find you, and we'll get out of here.
You can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ, and you can follow me on Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
Billy Big Bollocks!
And you can find me on Twitter at Upstate Andrew. I'm also on Instagram at Andrew Kazir. And see, I fucked up the audio, AJ. And what was I gonna say? Oh, make sure you guys diamond hand all your GameStop stocks. Hold down your stonks if you're gonna play the game right, brothers. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/AllElitePodcast. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/AllElitePodcast. We are on Twitter at All Elite Podcast and Instagram at All Elite Pod. Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button if you're over there on YouTube. Make sure you continue to support the podcast. Check us out. We appreciate all of the love that we get every Wednesday and Tuesday and Thursday. Until next time, AJ, let them know. See ya.
Bye.